You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start with the Bucks annihilating the Hawks yesterday without the services of their best player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know the score doesn't reflect the fact that this was an annihilation, but trust me, it was. From the word go, the Bucks were the better team. The reality is, in Game 4, when the Hawks were playing without Trae Young, I don't want to say they got lucky, because their defense was excellent. But looking back at it, you get the sense that the Bucks were just underestimating the Hawks. Their offense really wasn't that crisp. They thought that they could just steamroll past the Hawks. Without Trae Young, they have no chance, right? You still gotta play the game. You can't take anything for granted in sports, especially not in the playoffs. If you do, you'll end up losing by 22 points. What happened yesterday was the Bucks put their nose to the grindstone. Yes, the Hawks were without Trae Young, but the Bucks were without Giannis. So they knew that they really had to buckle down and focus if they wanted to win. That's exactly what they did. They had 4 players score over 20 points. Brook Lopez looked like old school Nets Brook Lopez. Watching him last night made my heart happy. And it'll make my heart even more happy if he wins an NBA title. Chris Middleton stepped up and had a double-double, nearly had a triple-double as a matter of fact. Jrue Holiday had a double-double. Bobby Portis had 22 points. You combine that with Lopez having 33 points in 37 minutes. The Hawks had no chance. This was a rout. This game was over in the first quarter. The reality is, if the Atlanta Hawks are playing a team without Trae Young, and that team is actually putting in the work and isn't just expecting to walk in and dominate, the Hawks have no shot. I mean, I give Bogdan Bogdanovic credit. The guy was lethal from beyond the arc, 7 for 16. He had 28 points. John Collins had 19 points. Danilo Gallinari had 19 points. Lou Williams had 17 points, although he turned the ball over 6 times. But again, you knew that the Bucks were going to win this game. They got out to a big first quarter lead. They were up by 14 at the end of 12 minutes of play. They were up by 20 at one point in this game. I've said it before, I'll say it again. These playoffs have no juice. It's impossible to get into. Even if you're a die-hard NBA fan, which I am, you have a tough time watching these games. Sure, let's watch the two best teams in the East duke it out without the best player on either side playing. How can you get into that? Seriously! Look, God only knows when the Stanley Cup Finals are going to be over. It could be over as early as Monday, or it could go on for as long as next Sunday. But once the Cup Finals are over, all we're going to have is baseball and basketball. Basketball, there's no juice. How can you get excited about Bucks Suns? If Giannis is healthy, maybe you're into it, but it's tough to get excited about those two teams. If Giannis is out, forget about it. There's a part of me that'll want to watch baseball instead, except, oh wait, the Yankees are terrible. I'm going to have nothing going on until football season. And even then, that's going to be over in October for the Jets. People keep telling me, hey, don't underestimate this team. They have a lot of talent. A coaching staff that's well respected. The roster got a lot better. You'll be okay. I think the Jets are going to be 6-11. They're not going to make a legitimate run at the playoffs. With a rookie quarterback? With no corners? Thank God for postseason baseball. I get into postseason baseball. Every baseball fan does. Even if your team isn't in it, I feel like you watch it. I mean, this postseason will be different. No Yankees. Haven't had that since 2016. There's just no juice in the NBA right now. I've said this before, I'll say it again. What's the story of these playoffs? Injuries. That's the overarching theme, and you saw it yesterday. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Trae Young, the best players for the Bucks and Hawks respectively. Two All-Stars, two of the best players in the NBA today are in street clothes. That's not what the playoffs should be. I mean, think about it this way. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's down to a best 2 out of 3. These are the two best teams in the East duking it out to see who's going to go up against the Suns in the NBA Finals. In this incredibly important game, at Game 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals, no Giannis and no Trae Young. That leaves a bad taste in your mouth. If you're not a Bucks fan and you're not a Hawks fan, you've got a tough time watching that game. Diehard NBA fan or not, at this moment in the NBA playoffs, you want to see the stars play. I feel like if it's the first round, it's a little justifiable. Okay, if you suffered an injury in the regular season, and you haven't bounced back yet, that's understandable. Like, I was into Grizzlies Jazz Game 1 without Donovan Mitchell. I was into the Suns Lakers series in the games where Anthony Davis didn't play. Here, in the Eastern Conference Finals, you want to see the stars go at it. Think about the starting fives that you saw yesterday. For the Hawks, Lou Williams, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, and Clint Capella. For the Bucks, Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, PJ Tucker, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez. Those are not the starting fives of the two best teams in the East. I mean, what ticks me off is, as a Brooklyn Nets fan, I know, and this isn't up for debate, this is fact, that my team, even if James Harden isn't 100% and Kyrie Irving isn't 100%, would destroy this Hawks team. With or without Trae Young, the Nets would destroy the Hawks. And without Giannis, the Bucks don't win Game 7. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of my viewing experience. I understand that not everyone watching is a Nets fan. Believe me, I know that. But even if you're not a Nets fan, you're just an NBA fan, isn't there that voice in your head that's saying, you know what? The Nets would beat these teams as currently constructed. The Sixers would beat these teams as currently constructed. I mean, watching that game yesterday, you were not watching the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. And that's what the Eastern Conference Finals should be. The two best teams in the East going at it. We didn't get that. We haven't gotten that since Game 3. So for 2 straight games, we've seen 2 very good teams. They're not bad, but they're not great. 2 very good teams duking it out to see who would go to the NBA Finals. In a conference finals, you have a great team more often than not. We haven't had that this year in either conference. The Suns aren't great, even if the Suns win it all. I wouldn't call them a great team. I'd call them an incredibly lucky team. A team that's very good. But if we're doing power rankings of all the NBA Finals winners throughout history, the Suns need to be at or near the bottom of that list. Same thing with the Bucks, and same thing with the Hawks. I mean, here's another instance of the Phoenix Suns getting incredibly lucky and facing a team with injury issues. LeBron not at 100%. AD not at 100%. Jamal Murray missing the whole series. Kawhi Leonard missing the whole series. Regardless of who the Suns go up against, they're facing a team with injury issues. Even if Giannis is ready to go for Game 1, I think it's a fair bet to say that he's not going to be at 100%. Same thing with Trae Young. It's just hard for me to get into the NBA right now. Maybe part of it is my team is out of it. I mean, I was incredibly juiced up for a Brooklyn Nets NBA Finals run. Don't kid yourself. I thought about maxing out my credit cards to attend an NBA Finals clinching game at the Barclays Center. So to not see my team get there, or even get to the conference finals, it does take some of the wind out of my sails. There's no question. But this isn't the first time that I've seen my team not be in the conference finals. No fan's team is in it every year. But usually you get into the playoffs. I mean, in hockey, the Islanders were eliminated in 7 games in the equivalent of the conference finals. I'm into this Stanley Cup Finals between the Lightning and the Canadiens. In 2009 and 2010, when the Jets lost back-to-back AFC title games, you can bet that I was watching those Super Bowls. I don't think my team not being in it is solely responsible for my lack of interest in these playoffs. Maybe it accounts for part of it, but not all of it. I think the seminal reason is the injuries and the knowledge that we are not seeing the best teams possible duke it out. What's the story of these playoffs? Injuries. I can't remember a playoffs in any sport that's been more defined by injuries than this playoffs in the NBA. We've seen star after star after star get hurt. And the NBA is a star-driven league. It's a league where if you have one great player, you can go on a magical run. Take a look at the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young is great. No one else on that team is. The Phoenix Suns don't have anyone great. Would you call Devin Booker great? Maybe. Would you call Chris Paul great? Maybe. But it's certainly debatable. The NBA is such a star-driven league that when you don't have stars duking it out, the product suffers. You spend all your time promoting guys like LeBron and KD and Luka and Zion and Kawhi Leonard, etc., that when those guys aren't in the playoffs anymore, there's no juice. I mean, the one thing that the NBA will have going for it is by the time the NBA Finals really get into the nitty-gritty, the Stanley Cup will be over. Regular season baseball isn't much of a competition for the NBA Finals. So people will watch it. But you know that's a bad look for the league when the only reason people are watching your games is because there's nothing else on. And look, we live in a world where there are distractions aplenty. You're not just limited to what's on TV. If you want to rent a movie on demand, you can. If you want to binge watch a show, you can. I mean, if you've got a bunch of movies that you want to watch, and you've got a bunch of TV shows that you want to binge, you can't tell me that that's less interesting than this NBA Finals. Again, if everyone's healthy, you've got some juice and you can get into it. But if Giannis doesn't play, if Trae Young doesn't play, you're going to have a tough time getting people interested in that series. It's bad enough that the only teams that are still alive in the playoffs are unsexy. The Suns aren't sexy, the Bucks aren't sexy, and the Hawks aren't sexy. But if they're the only teams left, people will watch them. The diehard NBA fans will watch them. If there are injuries to their best players, the diehard fans are going to have a tough time getting into it. I'm going to make a prediction. We're going to see lots of stories saying that these NBA Finals will have incredibly low ratings. You're going to see like lowest NBA Finals ratings in 10 years or 15 years, whatever the case may be. That's what we're gearing up for here. I promise you. So look. Congrats to the Bucks. They're now one win away from going to their first NBA Finals since 1974 when they lost to the Celtics. I mean, look, these are tortured fan bases that we're dealing with. The Bucks haven't been in the finals since 74. The Suns haven't been in the finals since 93. The Atlanta Hawks have never been in the NBA Finals. The last time they were in the finals, they were playing in St. Louis. They lost to the Celtics in 5 games in 1961, before both my parents were born. Let me tell you, you could go to Game 6 tomorrow with pictures of Bob Pettit, Cliff Hagan, Clyde Levelette, Lenny Wilkins, and Paul Seymour, and 99% of those people wouldn't be able to identify all 5 of them. These are tortured fan bases, and it'll be nice to see a non-juggernaut win the NBA Finals. The NBA has been dominated by super teams for far too long. So when you see a team like the Toronto Raptors or the Dallas Mavericks win, it's a breath of fresh air. But here's the thing, though. Those series had juice. The Raptors in 2019 were going up against a Warriors team that had won 3 of the last 4 NBA Finals. The injuries didn't matter because you knew that the Warriors were great. In fact, the injuries kind of helped because you knew that there was a chance that the Raptors could beat Goliath. And they did. And in 2011, the most ungodly assemblage of talent that we had seen in the NBA in a long time was going up against a Dallas Mavericks team that no one gave a snowball's chance in hell to. Yes, they handled the Western Conference with ease, but no one thought they'd beat the Heat in that series. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Mike Miller, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Udonis Haslem aren't going to lose to a team with Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Terry, and Jason Kidd. But they did. And that helped the NBA a lot. It showed that you can beat super teams. Maybe the lesson that we're learning here is that for the NBA playoffs to be interesting, there needs to be a super team in the mix. The super team doesn't need to be in that given series. Like, let's say the Nets had swept the Hawks. Game 5 of Suns-Clippers would still be interesting. There'd be some juice there. You'd be into the playoffs. For God's sake, yesterday, we didn't even see the best forms of those teams. Forget super teams. The best player on either side was out. Again, congrats to the Bucks. I'll be happy for them if they win. Small market teams will be able to point to the Bucks and say, see, Giannis re-signed and he won a championship. You can do that for us here. As an NBA fan, I like that. It doesn't help my team at all, but look, the NBA has had an issue with players leaving small markets for big markets for years now. So if the Bucks win, it kind of fixes that issue. I like that. And I like seeing Brook Lopez win an NBA title. He deserves it. He has the most points in Nets franchise history. But in order for me to really get into the NBA Finals and to solve that super team issue that I just mentioned, Giannis needs to play. And for the Hawks to have any chance of coming back in this series, Trae Young needs to play tomorrow. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And you know what it's going to be, previewing Lightning Canadiens. This will be the first game of this series that Dominique Ducharme is coaching. He's been out with the coronavirus, so Luke Richardson took over. He beat the Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup semifinals, but he hasn't done a good job against the Lightning. It's not his fault, it's just the truth. This will be Ducharme's first game coaching since Game 2 of the Golden Knights series. Him coming back could really inspire the Canadiens here. This series isn't over. It may have a doom and gloom feel to it. I understand that. But it's really not over. Like, if the Canadiens win tonight, we're looking at this series differently. Yes, they still need to win on Sunday, but you know what? They'll be doing their best Bee Gees impression, staying alive. This series isn't over. It's okay if you don't think the Lightning are going to lose 4 of their next 5 games, but this series really isn't over. Being 2-0 down is very different than being 3-0 down or 3-1 down. Even 3-2 down for that matter. Look, if the Habs are going to win this game, they've got to cut down on the mistakes. I said it on Wednesday. I'll say it again. Go back and look at Game 2. The Blake Coleman goal, the gut punch, with 0.3 of a second left in the second period, was caused by a Philippe Danault turnover at center ice. And the Andre Palat goal was caused by a turnover by Joel Edmondson. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There is no better team in the NHL than the Tampa Bay Lightning at seizing on their opponent's mistakes. The talent gap between the Lightning and the Canadiens is so stark that for the Habs to win games, they need to be borderline perfect. I know it's hard to do, but with Ducharme coming back, or maybe it's Ducharme. I think it's Ducharme. That is the French pronunciation. In any event, him coming back will really help the Canadiens stop making these really bad mistakes in the offensive zone and at neutral ice. As for the Lightning, they've got to do a better job in supporting their goalie. Andrei Vasilevsky faced 43 shots on Wednesday. Yes, he's a beast, but to expect him to make over 40 saves every game and still win, that's tough. Don't let the Canadiens get into the offensive zone that easy. Force some dump and chase. The Lightning are great at breaking out of their own zone. And look, if you force some mistakes just outside your zone, that bodes really well for you. It's how you've scored 2 goals in each of your past 2 games. And if you want to add Game 7 against the Islanders to that mix, you can. The Lightning defense needs to step up. Don't let Vasilevsky see as many shots as he did in Game 2 again. And then just sit back and watch the offense go. But I'm going to go with the upset here. The Canadiens need to win this game to keep their Stanley Cup hopes alive. Ducharme coming back is going to give them a big jolt of energy. The Bell Center will be rocking as much as it can with like 3,500 people present. I'm going to go with the Canadiens. Alright, so that's going to do it for today. I know it's a short show. I'm sorry. But look, there isn't much happening in the sports world right now. Once the NHL and the NBA wind down, that's the dead time in sports. Also, I've got to prepare for my trip. I'm leaving for Rapid City tomorrow. Should be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I've wanted to go to Mount Rushmore ever since I was a little kid. And my father always said, Jacob, we want to take you, but there's nothing to do there. Like at best, it's a long weekend. We're not going to do that. But now with 2 drivers in the car, myself and my father, my mom won't do that driving. She'll be sitting in the back crocheting. We can drive from South Dakota to a busier place like Denver. And we're doing a day trip to Devil's Tower in Wyoming because my mom and I are big fans of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We're going to Colorado from South Dakota via Nebraska to see a couple sites there. It's just another state to see. Like, we're going to 4 states that we never go to if not for the pandemic limiting international travel. So hey, the pandemic caused me to go to a place that's been on my bucket list ever since I was a little kid. Talk about making delicious lemonade out of spoiled lemons. You're not going to get a show at all next week. July 5th to July 9th, no shows. I'll probably be tweeting a lot at Real Jacob Valk, so make sure you follow me there. July 12th, I'll be back. God only knows what I'm going to talk about. What I'll probably end up doing is a recap of the really big sports stories. So like the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, even if they end on Monday. Maybe there'll be some trades. We'll see. You will get a Yankees show that day also. Breaking down everything that you need to know about them at the end of the first half of the season. I hope you have a great Independence Day. Hope you spend it with people who care about you. Fire up the grill. Enjoy baseball. Stay safe. I will miss you. There's no question about that. Until July 12th, I am Jacob Valk saying, it's a shame to have a week off when I'm hot.